I remember that evening so clearly. My mother was trying to read the name on her prescription bottle, but she had to squint, leaned in close under the kitchen light, and still couldn't make out the letters. It broke my heart, not just because she was struggling to read, but because I realized something deeper was fading. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a daughter who saw the light in her mother's eyes begin to dim. And that's when I started searching. Not for medicine, but for answers. At first, I thought it was just age. A little eye strain, maybe. My mom was in her 70s, still active, still cooking, still reading the newspaper every morning. But then, things changed. She started asking for brighter lights. She stopped watching her favorite shows at night. And one day, she quietly put down her book, halfway through a chapter she used to love. That's when I knew it wasn't just aging. It was something more, something deeper, and maybe something I could help with. So I started reading, not just about vision loss, but about nutrition, about how certain foods could actually support eye health as we age. Not miracle cures, just everyday foods we've often overlooked. And what I found truly surprised me. 3 ingredients, simple, affordable, and surprisingly powerful. They weren't new supplements or exotic herbs. They were things you could find in your own kitchen. And the best part, these 3 foods didn't just help my mom's eyesight. They also helped her sleep better, improved her focus, and even made her smile again. In this video, I want to share what I've learned, not just the science behind these 3 foods, but also how we use them, how they fit into daily meals, and how small changes can make a big difference for someone you love. So, if you're like me, someone who's watching a parent slowly lose the spark in their eyes, stick around. I'm going to walk you through the 3 foods that help bring that light back. Part 1. The day her eyes struggled to see. It started with something so small, a moment you could have missed if you weren't paying attention. But I was. My mom was sitting at the kitchen table like she did every morning. The light above her hummed softly, casting a warm glow over her hands as she held the pill bottle up to her face. She blinked, then squinted, then leaned in, bringing the label inches from her nose. She turned to me, eyes unsure. "Can you read this for me?" And that's when I felt something shift. I didn't panic. Not yet. After all, who hasn't struggled to read tiny print now and then? But deep down, a strange unease curled in my chest. Why did it feel like more than just bad lighting? Maybe it's because I'd seen it before. Not just in her, but in others. That subtle retreat from everyday things. The dimming, the pulling back like a slow fade. And when it happens to someone you love, it doesn't feel subtle at all. Here's the thing. We often think of aging as this loud, dramatic event. A fall, a hospital visit, a diagnosis. But sometimes aging whispers. It shows up in the way someone stops reading at night, in how they avoid the crossword puzzle they used to finish in pen, or how they quietly push aside the recipe card and start cooking from memory instead. I remember watching her rub her eyes, thinking maybe it was fatigue. Maybe she just didn't sleep well. Or maybe the light bulb was too dim. But deep down, I knew better. Because the fear wasn't in the squinting. It was in the way she looked away after. And here's the part I didn't expect. It made me afraid too. Not just of her losing her eyesight, but of losing the parts of her that were tied to it, her independence, her quiet confidence, her love of stories, of recipes, of details. So I did what I always do when I don't understand something. I started digging. Not for a cure, I'm not a doctor, just a daughter. But I wanted to know if there was something we were missing. And what I found startled me. Vision loss isn't just about aging. It's often accelerated by things we overlook: our food, our habits, our environment. Our eyes are some of the most energy-hungry organs in our body, relying on a constant supply of oxygen, antioxidants, and specific nutrients just to function properly. One ophthalmologist I spoke to explained it like this: your retina is like the film in an old camera. It's incredibly delicate, and it burns through fuel faster than most parts of the body. If that fuel isn't right, if you're low in lutein, zeaxanthin, omega-3s, or vitamin A, your vision suffers. Quietly, gradually, sometimes irreversibly. That sentence hit me hard because it wasn't about some rare deficiency or dramatic illness. It was about the slow erosion caused by years of tiny neglects. Too little of the right things, too much of the wrong ones, a lifetime of habits that felt harmless until they weren't. Here's a strange truth I didn't know back then. Your brain and your eyes are more connected than you think, not just metaphorically, biologically. Your eyes are extensions of your brain tissue. So when your brain struggles, your vision often follows. Poor blood flow, inflammation, nutritional gaps. They don't just make you tired, they can literally cloud your sight. Isn't that wild? To think that something like a lack of choline or lutein could be silently fogging up the world in front of someone you love, and that's when it clicked. This wasn't just a problem of reading glasses or stronger bulbs. It was a warning bell. And I had missed the first few rings. But now, I was listening. I couldn't stop the clock. But maybe, just maybe, I could help slow the dimming. Bring some of the light back. Not with magic, but with something as ordinary and extraordinary as what we chose to put on her plate. And that moment right there at the kitchen table, that was the first clue. The one that started it all. Part 2. When eggs became more than breakfast. I never thought I'd cry over eggs. But there I was, standing in the kitchen, whisking 3 of them in a chipped ceramic bowl, watching the yolks swirl into gold when I felt something shift in my chest. Maybe it was the memory of her hands cracking them years ago. Or maybe I just realized how something so small could carry the weight of something so big. See, growing up, eggs were comfort. They were Sunday mornings and quiet breakfasts. They were scrambled with chives, folded into omelets, boiled with a pinch of salt. They were just food. But as I stood there watching those same eggs cook in the pan, I started to see them differently. Because here's what I had learned. Those little eggs, they were doing things the expensive supplements promised but rarely delivered. Let's start with something called choline. I had never even heard of it, but it turns out choline is essential for building healthy cell membranes for brain development. And yes, for supporting vision. And guess what? Eggs are one of the richest natural sources of it. One large egg contains about 147 milligrams of choline. And most people, especially older adults, aren't getting nearly enough. It's not just a brain nutrient. It's the quiet architect behind clear thinking, memory retention, and the chemical signals your eyes use to process images. When I read that, I paused, because my mom hadn't just been struggling to read. She'd been forgetting things too. Little things, names, what day it was, where she put her keys. And it wasn't dementia. It wasn't sudden. It was just fog. Choline, I thought. Maybe that's a start. But that wasn't the only thing eggs were hiding. They also contain lutein and zeaxanthin, two antioxidants that are concentrated in the retina. They act like natural sunglasses, filtering out harmful blue light and protecting the eyes from oxidative stress. A nutritionist explained it to me like this. If you think of the retina as a camera sensor, then lutein and zeaxanthin are your lens filters. Without them, your eyes are taking damage every single day. And here's the crazy part. Your body doesn't produce them on its own. You have to get them through food. So I started making eggs again. Not fried in butter, not drowned in cheese. Just soft scrambled with a little oil to help absorb the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. And you know what surprised me most? It wasn't how healthy they were. It was how simple it was. We're so used to chasing miracle cures and superfoods flown in from halfway around the world. But sometimes, healing is hiding in the fridge, waiting, in something you've eaten your whole life, but never truly seen. Now here's something you might not know. For years, eggs were demonized for their cholesterol. People thought they'd clog arteries and cause heart attacks. But recent studies show the HDL, the good cholesterol in eggs, actually protects against heart disease. It helps remove excess cholesterol from the bloodstream, supports brain function, and balances hormones. In fact, in one study, participants who ate 2 eggs per day for 6 weeks showed a 10% increase in HDL levels. That's not just a statistic. That's potential protection for the brain, the heart, and yes, the eyes. I looked back at the plate of eggs I'd just made for my mom. She smiled. It wasn't a big smile, just that soft little curl of her lips that meant this feels like home. She took a bite, chewed slowly, and then she said, "These taste like when you were little." And that was the moment. That was when I knew this wasn't just breakfast. It was medicine, memory, love. So we made a quiet ritual of it. Eggs twice a week, always with a drizzle of oil, sometimes with chives, sometimes with a little spinach. And over time, her eyes stopped squinting so much. Her reading glasses didn't need to be cleaned again. She started reaching for the book before bed, and the fog lifted just a little. It wasn't a cure, it was a beginning. And as I sat beside her sipping tea, watching her turn the pages of a book she used to love, I remembered something else I had read. Your eyes are the only part of your brain that you can see from the outside, which means when they change, your brain might be asking for help. Eggs helped me hear that call, and that changed everything. Part 3. The red fruit that helped her sleep. I used to think of red dates, jujube, as some call them, as nothing more than chewy bites in a sweet soup my grandmother once made. I never saw them as medicine. But now, every time I slice one open, I think of my mother, finally sleeping through the night. Sleep had become a stranger to her. It crept away quietly. At first, she just stayed up a little later than usual. Then she started waking up at 3 a.m., wandering into the kitchen for tea. And then, the dark circles came. The fog in the mornings. The quiet sighs she tried to hide. At first, I brushed it off. It's just age, I thought. But then I remembered something I'd read. Chronic sleep issues in older adults are often tied not just to stress, but to blood flow, inflammation, and nutrient deficiencies in the brain. So, I went looking, and what I found was fruit, not pills, not sedatives, not fancy teas imported from overseas, but something simple, slightly wrinkled, and deeply red dates. Turns out these little fruits are rich in saponins, flavonoids, and polysaccharides compounds that have been shown to calm the nervous system, enhance sleep quality, and even improve memory. One small study showed that extracts from jujube could increase sleep time and reduce nighttime waking in older individuals with mild insomnia. Another noted that red dates help balance cortisol, the stress hormone, especially when consumed regularly before bedtime. I was skeptical, but I had nothing to lose, so I tried it. I soaked a handful of red dates in warm water, added a few slices of fresh ginger for warmth and circulation. Let them simmer for 20 minutes until the kitchen smelled like something from childhood. Then I let it cool and stirred in a spoonful of honey. I handed it to my mom without saying much. "Just try it," I said. She sipped slowly. Her eyes softened. And that night, for the first time in weeks, she didn't get up once. Coincidence, maybe. But I kept making it. 3 times a week. Warm red date tea with ginger and honey, always in her favorite porcelain cup, always just before bed. And the results were gentle, but undeniable. Her mood improved. She smiled more. She remembered more. And most important of all, she slept. It wasn't just the calm it brought. It was what it replaced. No more over-the-counter sleep aids. No more restless tossing and turning. Just the quiet rhythm of breath and the comfort of knowing morning would come peacefully. What surprised me even more was how deeply red dates support cerebral circulation. They're rich in vitamin C, potassium, and iron nutrients that help oxygenate the blood, reduce oxidative stress in brain tissue, and support vascular health. Think of it this way. When blood doesn't reach the brain efficiently, everything slows down. Memory, focus, even sight. Red dates help move the blood, not in a dramatic way, but in a steady, nourishing rhythm. A slow dance between body and mind. And here's the strange part. The more I gave her, the more she began to remember little things. The story behind the porcelain cup. The name of her old school friend. The second verse of a lullaby she hadn't sung in years. It was like someone had dusted off the shelves of her mind. I don't claim it was magic. I don't believe in that. But I do believe in rituals, in warmth, in the kind of slow medicine that seeps into you over time. The kind that doesn't just fix a problem, it remembers who you are. And that little red fruit, it remembered. It remembered her favorite tea. It remembered her rhythm. It remembered the quiet strength she carried through decades of motherhood, widowhood, and everything in between, and somehow it handed it back to her. So we kept it going. Red dates, ginger, and honey served warm with love, sometimes in silence, sometimes with music playing softly in the background, but always with hope. And what started as a sleep remedy became something else, a doorway, one that led to the next clue, the final piece of this little puzzle, the food she once called the golden one. Part 4. Pumpkin, the Forgotten Guardian. The first time I offered her pumpkin soup, she wrinkled her nose. "Isn't that baby food?" she said with a smirk. I laughed. Because honestly, I'd thought the same. To me, pumpkin was a decoration in October. Something sweet in pies, not something powerful, not something that could guard the body from within. But I had read too much to ignore it. Pumpkin, I'd learned, isn't just squash. It's a storehouse of beta-carotene, lutein, vitamin A, potassium, and fiber, each working quietly behind the scenes to protect vision, support heart health, and reduce inflammation. And so I cooked. I sliced the pumpkin into soft orange cubes, steamed them gently to preserve the nutrients, then mashed them with a bit of olive oil and garlic. No sugar, no cinnamon, just warmth. I served it with a spoon and a quiet hope. She tried a bite, then another, then smiled. "It tastes safe," she said, and maybe that's what pumpkin is. Safe, gentle, but powerful if you understand it. Here's something most people don't know. Pumpkin is one of the richest sources of beta-carotene, which the body converts into vitamin A. And vitamin A is essential for eye health, not optional, not decorative. Deficiency in vitamin A is one of the leading causes of preventable blindness in the elderly worldwide. And yet we treat pumpkin like it's optional, seasonal, decorative. But for someone like my mother, whose vision was slowly dimming, pumpkin wasn't a fall flavor. It was a shield. It didn't stop there. Lutein and zeaxanthin, those same retinal defenders found in eggs, also live inside pumpkin's golden flesh. And when paired with a healthy fat like olive oil, they absorb even better. But what struck me most wasn't just what pumpkin gave to her eyes. It was what it gave to her heart. High in potassium and fiber, pumpkin naturally supports cardiovascular health. It helps reduce LDL, the bad cholesterol, while relaxing blood vessels and supporting healthy blood pressure. A cardiologist once said something that stuck with me. Pumpkin is one of the few foods that's good for the eye and the artery. It clears your view, and it clears your path. Beautiful, right? And here's where it gets weird in a wonderful way. Pumpkin may help regulate blood sugar too. Even though it's sweet, it has a low glycemic index. And the natural compounds in pumpkin help insulin work more effectively, making it a quiet friend to those at risk of type 2 diabetes. So let's pause here. In one simple bowl of mashed pumpkin, you've got a triple defense team. Vision, heart, metabolism. And yet, we walk right past it in the produce aisle. That to me feels like a missed miracle. As my mother kept eating it, I noticed changes. Not dramatic, but gentle. Her skin looked calmer, her energy steadier, and that sharp edge in her blood pressure readings, it softened. But there was something else. Her mood changed, not just because she was feeling physically better, but because someone me was caring, present, showing up in the form of food. We started cooking together. I showed her how to roast the pumpkin with garlic. She taught me how to steam it with a pinch of salt and nothing else. We laughed at how her old pressure cooker still hissed like a dragon. It became our ritual, not just for nourishment, but for memory. And one afternoon, while she stirred the soup, she said something that stopped me. "This reminds me of when I used to feed you," she said, and I realized we had traded places, not just in life, but in love. Pumpkin helped her, yes, but it helped me too, to slow down, to give without waiting, to protect the way she once protected me. And while the soup simmered, I thought about the final step. the thing I had discovered late in this journey, something that tied all of this together. Because no matter how healthy the food is, if your body isn't absorbing it, if your blood isn't flowing, if your cells aren't ready, then even the best ingredients can go to waste. And that's where the real shift happened. It started not in the kitchen, but in the morning air. Part 5. The light in her eyes came back. It didn't happen overnight. There was no dramatic moment, no sudden miracle. But one morning, I caught her in the garden. She was leaning over a pot of basil, gently pruning the leaves, humming a song I hadn't heard in years. And the sun hit her face just right. I saw her eyes, clear, focused, alive. That was the moment. The moment I knew. Something had come back. The light. For weeks, no months, we had been shifting. From processed meals to real food. From convenience to intention. From resignation to quiet hope. The eggs, the red dates, the pumpkin, they weren't magic. They didn't reverse time. But they did something that pills and procedures often don't. They gave her body the raw materials it needed to heal itself. Gently, silently, faithfully. And what I learned through this journey is something I wish every daughter, every son, every caregiver could know. Healing doesn't always wear a lab coat. Sometimes it wears an apron. But let me be clear. This wasn't just about nutrition. It was about delivery, absorption, timing. That's when I began looking into the role of morning rituals, the hidden rhythms that prepare the body to actually use what you feed it. Because even the most nutrient-rich foods can pass through us, untouched, if the body isn't ready. Here's what changed for us. Warm water first thing in the morning with a squeeze of lemon or ginger. Why? Because hydration is the first step in waking up the digestive system. And digestion is the gatekeeper of nutrients. Light morning movement, even just 10 minutes of slow walking. Because circulation is everything. When the blood flows, nutrients reach the cells. Eyes, brain muscles, all of it. And then, breakfast. Rich in healthy fats, color, and warmth. Eggs with herbs. Pumpkin soup with garlic. A cup of red date tea. Simple, repeating, reliable. It wasn't just food, it was invitation for her body to open the door to healing. And slowly, that door opened. She stopped squinting at her pill bottles. She read the paper again. She asked me to go outside more. She even joined the neighbor's little Tai Chi group once a week. One afternoon, she turned to me and said, "I feel clearer. Not just my eyes, everything." That's when I cried. Because I had spent months focusing on the physical lutein, choline, beta-carotene. But I had forgotten that healing is also emotional. It's being seen. It's being cooked for. It's having someone care enough to peel the skin off tomatoes just to make sure you digest them better. It's love, disguised as soup. And as we stood in the kitchen side by side, chopping, stirring, smiling, I realized we had created something much bigger than a health plan. We had made a ritual, a rhythm, a new way of being together. And most of all, we had made space for the light to come back. So, if you're watching this and someone you love is fading a little in vision, in memory, in spirit, start small. An egg, a red fruit, A golden bowl of pumpkin, made with love, served with care, repeated with intention. You may not see the light return right away, but keep going, because healing, real healing, moves at the speed of love. And when that love is quiet and steady, one day you'll look across the table and see it in their eyes again, just like I did. Maybe healing isn't loud. Maybe it doesn't come in hospital gowns or miracle pills. Maybe it walks barefoot into your kitchen each morning, soft, ordinary golden, because that's how it arrived for us. Through small things, an egg, a fruit, a quiet bowl of pumpkin. Not just nutrients, but memory. Not just vitamins, but love served warm. I used to believe longevity was a matter of luck. Now I think it's a matter of attention. Paying attention to what we eat, to the seasons, to the people we love, to the slow, almost invisible way the body whispers when it needs help. Your body wants to stay with you. It wants to be strong. It wants to see clearly, sleep soundly, move freely. It just needs the right support. And if you've made it to this point in the video, I want you to know this: you are not helpless. There is always something you can do. Start small, stay steady, and do it with love. I've created a playlist of gentle morning rituals and healing foods for people over 60. You'll find it linked below in the description. And if this helped you in any way, please share it with someone you love. A friend, a parent, a neighbor. Help them feel strong again. If this message matters to you, like this video, subscribe for more. Leave a comment and tell me, which of the 3 foods will you try first? Eggs, red dates, or pumpkin? Let this be your invitation to choose care, to choose presence, to choose light. Because sometimes healing is just a meal away.